The Watchtower organization has a department to handle PR for the religion called the Public Information Department. In the United States, this is the Watchtower's public and media relations arm. All those news articles about assemblies and return to door-to-door service? That newspaper clip that goes viral in email chains among JWs. Do you think those news articles were organic, from interested worldly journalists? Some articles are sponsored content, while others are pieces the department submits to news outlets that are desperate for any free content, really. The organization uses brothers and sisters to create puff pieces, act as JW spokesmen on news shows, and to push down so-called apostate news stories, as we will see. I have links to more info in the description below. Special thanks to Ron Pimo. This isn't scandalous information, but it does provide insight into how the organization operates behind the scenes, why they want so much studio space, and where a lot of people's time and money is going. The Watchtower having a department that handles media isn't new or a secret, but we've never had a behind-the-scenes look like this before. The 1998 yearbook said this: "Many in the world recognize Jehovah's Witnesses as law-abiding, family-oriented people who have high moral and ethical standards, and who are actively preaching the message of God's Word. However, there are also people who oppose our work and will stop at nothing to besmirch the reputation of Jehovah's people and to hinder our efforts to let the light shine. They do this by providing government officials and the media with inaccurate, lying, and disparaging information about Jehovah's Witnesses." In an effort to correct such misrepresentation, in February 1997, the governing body approved the formation, under the oversight of the Writing Committee, of a Public Affairs Office. General information desks have been functioning in the Society's branch offices. The intent of this arrangement is to take a proactive approach in providing the media, academics, and government officials, as well as the public at large, with an accurate picture of our beliefs and activities. This is not an arrangement through which Jehovah's Witnesses boast about themselves. The Public Information Department has quarterly meetings, each hours long, but we'll watch just a few clips. Do you ever worry about a tragic event at an assembly or kingdom hall, like an active shooter or a bomb? Well, they have people ready to put the spin on any news story that comes out if such a tragedy happens.
But then there's a second point here that's mentioned, Aaron, about emergency or notorious event. Well, I didn't know we had anything to do with that.
Yeah, this is going to be something completely new for us. And anybody that watches the news knows that these notorious events seem to happen every week, and they affect our brotherhood. Here we're going to be gathered together in these venues. We're going to do our level best to keep things safe. But if there is something that happens that is traumatic, PID, and specifically those local spokesmen, are going to need to know how to handle those situations in the right way.
Yeah, indeed. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. We know that Jehovah's Angels have protected our conventions. We also know that bad things happen to Jehovah's people. We don't know how Jehovah balances those things. We just don't. We don't know how high the hedge is. And we don't know whether something will happen in this system of things, whether there'll be a shooting at a kingdom hall or at a convention, or whether we'll have a bomb or a bomb threat or a shooting or a significant event. We have had, even at the local assembly halls here, somebody mowed down on the sidewalk. So the responsibility will be to take control of that event from a media and community perspective.
Interesting how they believe Jehovah protects assemblies, except when he doesn't. Did you know that they also actively suppress quote-unquote apostate news stories?
Aaron's going to give us a brief recap of some of the work that you brothers and sisters accomplished in March, April, and early May.
Thank you for that, Seth. There was beautiful work that was accomplished during that return to in-person meetings and in-person memorial. It was remarkable what you brothers and sisters were able to accomplish and how Jehovah blessed our work beyond compare. Here's a little chart that will help us. Just in a very small amount of time, we were able to shift gears very quickly. And from March the 25th through May the 5th, we had 1,058 total media hits. In fact, when you look on this chart on 3/30, this was the day before we went back to the meetings on Saturday and Sunday, we had over 40 hits just that day alone. And then it was remarkable, as you look at our overall view of our map, these little dots represent all of these hits. And you can see our PID structure was in place, and it adjusted very quickly, and it was able to handle the workload that was thrown at you, dear brothers and sisters. These dots represent all of the different media hits all over the United States, and you can see wonderful coverage. North to south, east to west, the metropolitan areas did magnificent, but also look at these rural areas. You brothers are to be commended for that. As we do a little flyover of our map, you'll see California, great success, but also in Hawaii. We were on an NBC news affiliate. 1.5 million viewers saw that program. It was outstanding. You brothers and sisters working in Alaska, kudos to you. You were able to crack into that market and find great success. And all of you dear brothers and sisters in these supervised lands, we were so excited to see how Jehovah had really blessed your work in every way. And then here was the beauty of it. Not only did we have the return to meetings, but then that spilled right over into our memorial. And it was an even split really between the two. But that meant that we were in the news cycle for some 20, 25 days easy. All of the apostate stuff pushed to the bottom, all of the beautiful truths pushed to the top. These are just some of the covers of different news articles, just again representing the work of you hard working brothers and sisters. We thank you for that. That really is a thing of beauty. We thought we'd just share with you one experience. So on the day of the memorial, live coverage, of course it happened across the United States. There were actually news crews at Kingdom Halls. This one was on the evening news, the night of the memorial. And a brother that was inactive for a number of months heard on the news about the memorial, and he thought to himself, Jehovah is telling me I better go. And so he phoned his brother, who also was inactive for a long period of time, and the two of them went to the memorial together. That is just one experience of many that show that the beauty of your work is being blessed by the angels. And again, we thank each one of you for helping us with that return to meetings and the memorial. It was very successful.
This next clip gave me the heebie-jeebies. I encountered a lot of men like this in the organization. My value and worth being reduced to how I looked was so insulting.
Thanks for all you do, and thanks to your team. They're still busy, and that's not going to change. So we love you guys, and we love what you do.
Yeah, and just one tiny little thing we want to show too as well is there's going to be an additional tab where you can see the actual entire team that you're going to be calling
right
up there as well.
Now, I noticed
so there's
on
that office
team,
assistant.
I noticed on that team you have all young, beautiful sisters as office support. I don't think that that's very healthy.
I'll leave that up to you. But, yeah. So.
Oh yes, it's a local decision. It's a local decision and principle based.
Absolutely.
That stiff upper lip is staying with you. Okay, Bill. Thank you. Thank you so much for all that you do.
As we go further, it doesn't look like the governing body knows what they're doing. They are constantly flip-flopping their directives.
We appreciate you being with us. We have the largest audience that we've ever had, and it's appropriate because it probably is the most important quarterly meeting we've ever had. So we look forward to what's ahead. Well, we have so much ahead of us now as we think about the road ahead. Isn't it an outstanding theme for us? When you think about the road ahead, what do you think about? Are you nervous about where we're going, where PID is going? Well, some of you are, we get that. But we have to say, as a department, we're not at all. Where does PID want to go? Where should we be going? And why is this a question nearly 4 years after we were formed? Well, to continue our discussion on this, I'm bringing in my partner, Matthew Ullman, Assistant Overseer of the Public Information Department. Matthew, it's so good to be able to discuss this and to finally talk to everyone about the future of PID. Think about what that policy was. Notice this is the direction that we got, and we were built on this. So we got this direction. Then we built PID. All other, I think, 87 or so PIDs at the time were built on the old way. It says this: it is beneficial for the branch office to establish good relations with the news media wherever possible. That was a mind-blowing statement from the governing body to branches, because it reflected a 180-degree shift in our thinking. But now it went on. If you notice, PID should regularly provide representatives of credible media outlets, journalists, and so forth with newsworthy information. And then it said they should prepare specific localized materials for that. That was a big change. And so the beautiful thing that we had the benefit as an organization, as a PID, to be able to say, okay, that's our mandate, and this is how we'll build. And you can see right from on the right-hand side of this picture here is a Jason Hole at a press conference, basically at a convention. Never been done before. We did it at 7 conventions. This was all new. People were so surprised that they were seeing us on the news now. But then 2020 came, and 2020 was a little bit different. And it did relate to the same. But notice, if you would, Matt, what do you see?
Well, it says it's beneficial for the branch office to establish good relations. That's pretty broad, isn't it? But now here in 2020, we should regularly provide representatives of credible media outlets, journalists with accurate, newsworthy information about our activities and beliefs. So opening it up more.
Well, that's good that you've noticed that, but that was also on the 2019 policy. But notice the difference here is the first one is struck out. A year later. Now they're refining it already. Governing body's taking that 180-degree turn, and now they're shifting a little bit back. So the pendulum had shifted, and now it's coming back a little bit because they removed that sentence, a very important sentence that said it's beneficial for us. But then also in 2020, something dramatic happened. March 2020. I don't know if you remember March 2020. Do you remember what happened in March 2020?
Remind me.
A pandemic.
Oh, that.
Yeah, yes. And so the pandemic changed everything for PID. And so I'll just activate these different, yeah. So you see me there, that should have never happened. See, that never would have happened had it not been for COVID. It was about late June 2020. I am in my room just upstairs from the studio, and I get a call from a station down in Virginia Beach, and they said, "Hey, can we interview you?" And I said, "Well, I'm in Wallkill and I'm in quarantine." He said, "No, can we interview over Zoom?" And I don't know why, but we never thought that would ever happen. You know, it's all these years of being in the media. And never thinking, you know, Zoom now is like a satellite uplink to news media. And that was the game changer. So not only did the main mandate of PID change, but the entire media landscape changed.
And exactly that is that the world had changed. So the pandemic created a new situation that we had never really seen before.
And of course, then many hundreds, if not over 1,000 interviews later, we're at this place we are today. And now things are changing again. And they're changing from a media standpoint, but they're also changing from the world standpoint. In 2021 and 2022, we had similar direction from our oversight. But then in 2023, notice, if you would, take a look on the screen. What do you see, Brother Ullman?
Well, it looks like everything that we've been following has been stricken out.
Whoa! Isn't that a surprise? Now, we should tell the friends that we've just gotten this direction this week, and that the direction is actually for January 2023. It does not mean that PIDs are going away. That is not the case. It just means that things are changing. But now let's, if you will, I'll use your term. Let's go to our bread and butter.
Inside joke. But yes.
PID media relations. Where are we going with this, Brother Ullman?
Well, following the spirit of the direction that we've already received, this is another area where we're going to make some refinements, and we're going to really try to focus our attention. So we're going to simplify and reduce our initiatives. And if anybody's gone on the pitching toolbox recently, they've seen a major overhaul.
Yeah, so on the pitching toolbox, you can see that it's retained localized initiatives, it's retained bullying, it's retained return to meetings. All of those are approved initiatives, but things like seasonal depression, gone.
Sometimes in PID, we're moving very quickly in one direction, and then we have to slam on the brakes because the news changes, and we have to move the other direction very quickly. Let me give you an example. We had worked on this pitch on 2 years no knocking for an extended period of time. We had great pictures, we had great localizations. And then one day, we're sitting at lunch here in Bethel. Brother Sanderson is on the television, and he says, we are going back to in-person meetings and an in-person memorial. We had to slam on the brakes and move the other direction. What about Stratton? The first time we've ever done a project like that. In some instances, our hard work will not see the light of day. And in situations like that, step back and see the beauty of the work. Step back and see the culmination of the sum, and don't make it just about the one. Jesus taught us this lesson with expensive oil. Stay in the moment. Enjoy everything we accomplish in PID as a group, and don't miss the beauty of your PID work.
Predictability. We all love predictability. When you have predictability, you can plan ahead. You can schedule things. You can set yourself up for success and help lessen the chance of failure. Those were just some of the reasons why last year when we were together for this very meeting, we wanted this year, 2022, to be the year of predictability. And let me tell you, we worked very hard to make that happen. Out in the field, to get a whole year's worth of press releases together, storyboards and audio stories, the RCM tool being reworked to have this predictability calendar. We wanted predictability. But there were some savvy veterans of PID in the field that predicted that our predictability would be unpredictable. And their prediction was right. Who would have known? It started just very simply in March. We did really good up until March with our predictability. But then the Bethel family, sitting together, Brother Sanderson comes on the television at 12:15 and announces, we are back live for our meetings, live for the memorial. And we know you brothers and sisters were working so hard on that 2-year no knocking pitch. It was perhaps the most localized pitch we ever had ready. And we had to shift gears immediately into this very exciting return to the meetings. And then, of course, it just snowballed from there, from our public ministry to September 1st, the return of door-to-door knocking. It was amazing. And now, as we're getting to the tail end of this year, even more change coming to the Public Information Department.
Can you imagine the frustration of the brothers and sisters? But members keep smiles on their faces because they think they're doing it for Jehovah. It makes sense why they printed statements in the Watchtower that the governing body are not inspired, not infallible, and why members must listen to organizational direction. The next several clips provide some behind-the-scenes insight into their media campaigns and how puff pieces are created. It's amazing how much work is needed to win over the public's perception of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Jason works with our branch media strategy team, and he's going to briefly outline the work in the next 2 or 3 months when it comes to the media. These are going to be our primary campaigns. Jason's also going to give us some nice thoughts on how we can keep that workload manageable, especially given how busy we've been over the last 3 months. So Jason, I'll turn our attention to you.
The media calendar for the rest of the summer is focused on 2 campaigns: Return to Public Ministry and our 2022 convention campaign. How can we balance both of these campaigns after their incredibly busy spring? Let's talk about a few options. First, the Return to Public Ministry story has a short version designed to be very simple to localize. All you need is a stock quote from the local spokesman and the name of the local area. Of course, a nice photograph of local publishers engaged in the public ministry will make the story much more appealing to local media. The photographs can be simple and potentially taken by any member of PID, not just our photographers. Some regions have opted to delay convention outreach by a few weeks to allow more time for their teams to work on return to public ministry. Others might begin the return to public ministry outreach gradually or slowly, waiting until they're confident that a team in a given market won't be overloaded by the additional work. The local spokesmen have been given broad discretion to use their judgment as they direct the timing and scale of these campaigns. Our primary concern is that all volunteers are able to maintain good balance in their theocratic activities. In addition to these releases, there are about 20 other releases that will be in the pitching toolbox in the coming months. We've already seen great results in Region 10 as they pitched a new Go Bag story, and anticipate continued hits in other regions during hurricane season, wildfire season, and preparedness month. Please take the time to get familiar with these releases in the pitching toolbox and think about what will be appealing to outlets in your market. We especially appreciate your incredible work over these past months.
Well, Sister Alexandra Ross, the lead writer on one of these draft stories, it's still in draft form at the moment, put together a brief video package walking us through the women in construction story and how it could perhaps be localized.
So one of the stories that will make up the Kingdom Hall packet is designed to highlight the role that women play in our construction projects. And we feel like there are several angles here that could be potentially newsworthy. First of all, just the fact that women make up less than 10% of the construction workforce in the US. Aside from that, there's the major and ongoing labor shortage in the construction industry and also the need for training. And then just the image in and of itself of a woman wearing high-vis and a hard hat, we feel like that could be really compelling too. So looking at the first draft of the article, it should be really easy and straightforward to localize. The blue text is designed to be replaced with the experience of any local sister who is working on a Kingdom Hall build. The article opens with this image of her. She's heading out of her house. She has her hard hat in hand. So that could be used, or a similarly compelling image that will pique the reader's interest. The graphs that follow add some detail about the build itself, where it's taking place. In this case, the example build is in Cypress, Texas, and also describes what exactly the sister is doing on the build and also how she feels about the fact that she's able to be involved in this way. Next up, we have a series of graphs that will not need to be localized. The story contrasts the underrepresentation of women in construction in general with the fact that witness projects often see a large percentage of female volunteers. We also then have a quote from our national spokesman. We have a section that discusses the major role that women played on the Warwick build, and there's also a space for more information about the local hall build itself. We finish up with a link that will take the reader to the jw.org website, the About Us section, where they can find more information about our construction activities. And that's pretty much it. It's short and sweet, under 400 words in length, but we're hoping that it'll be appealing to the media, especially if it's accompanied by a compelling image as well.
Now, if I recall correctly, return to meetings was not our only big story in the last 3 months. Did we do something else?
I thought everything kind of closed up after May.
There's something. I got an email about...
Wait a second. Watchtower versus Stratton live production, the program. Unbelievable amount of work. And the output by our brothers and sisters, incredible. We feel that the Stratton program was an absolute success. We're so proud of it. We've heard a lot of great feedback about it, and it just represents, for lack of a better term, another feather in our cap, because we were able to accomplish something that really is, we could say, the biggest project that PID has ever taken on.
The most important assets to PID are the many brothers and sisters that all contribute their various skill sets and unique experiences to the department. And undoubtedly, Jehovah uses these brothers and sisters to accomplish much. And that's true across the branch territory, but it's also true here in the office.
Wow. So Matt, I really second your concluding comments there. I've always loved our spokesman, but hearing their expressions here made me love them even more. What an incredible group of brothers.
Absolutely. You know, I was thinking about it while this panel was going, and I thought, you know, you and I as section men, we have access to these brothers, sometimes on a weekly basis. We know them, we work with them. We are in a position to clearly see the responsibility that they have.
And it's vast, right?
It's vast. And the work that they're doing. Maybe not everyone in PID has that opportunity.
Let's move on to the next portion of our program, where we're going to talk about the work of our content teams. And we'll focus on some projects from the past, from the present, and the future. So the past project will be the COVID documentation project, which is mostly wrapped up. We'll take a look at some of the results. We'll talk about present work, a new project creating reports about the arrival of Ukrainian and Russian refugees. And then we'll look ahead to LDC documentation and media outreach. But maybe we could start with the Ukrainian refugee update videos.
The 90-second updates or highlight reels for arriving Eastern European refugees are designed to be simple and easily produced. The goal is within 48 hours. The two ingredients for these videos are, number one, the voiceover script, and number two, imagery to cover the voiceover. The script itself is a fast-moving, informative, but not elaborate, 140 to 150 words. The general story arc of these scripts are the same. It begins with the circumstances in their origin country and why they chose to flee, then the journey, often through a number of countries. They arrive at a temporary destination before arriving at a final destination. And then typically they share a thought about the journey, usually appreciation for the care that they received. The imagery includes simple maps as well as photos and videos provided by the case monitor and the content team. As you see, very simple. All of the scripts are very similar. What makes each story unique are a few brief sentences that include what the family left behind, any details about the journey, for example, challenges faced and/or assistance provided by other branches or brothers and sisters, how the family will be cared for here in the U.S., comments, if any, from the family about their journey, challenges, or appreciation for the care that they've received. To gather those details, questions are provided to a case monitor who will provide all of the material for the writer to compose the script. The script is recorded by a narrator provided by the BPT, and the map templates will come from the BPT. Imagery comes from the case monitor and your local content team. Thank you, dear friends, for all of the excellent work that you have already done in documenting our brothers and sisters who are receiving loving care from Jehovah and his organization.
Now let's take a moment and look back at some work the content teams have completed. You were given a challenge about a year ago to go out and capture experiences related to the COVID pandemic. And we asked you to not just get general comments. We asked you to dig in and find powerful, specific comments where brothers and sisters talk about a challenge they personally faced and how they saw Jehovah or the organization help them resolve it.
Instead of addressing the underlying issues that result in all the sexual abuse, lawsuits, the suicides and shattered homes caused by shunning, and the needless deaths by rejecting blood transfusions, they focus untold man-hours into spinning the news,